The FBI today arrested a man accused of placing 2 pipe bombs outside the RNC and the DNC headquarters here in Washington, D.C., and that was on the evening before the January 6th Capitol breach. I spoke earlier with Jonathan Gilliam, a former Navy SEAL and former FBI special agent, about this case and the timeline of the investigation. Jonathan Gilliam, thank you so much for joining us here.
Good to be with you.
Now, the FBI has arrested someone in the investigation into the pipe bombs placed in D.C. and the evening before the January 6th Capitol breach is when they were placed. That was 5 years ago. They've just now arrested and charged someone. Does it surprise you that it took this long?
Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Investigations take a long time. I would like to know, though, what was being done in the investigation before the Trump administration took over. And we got a new director of the FBI. Was it being pursued? That's a possibility, as we know now, looking at the nature of the FBI and the political nature that it was. But it's not uncommon to see investigations take this long. You get bits and pieces of information, even with cameras everywhere, and often, most of the time, it ends up being human sources that have heard something or know somebody that did something, and that ends up being what leads them, or a combination of the video footage and some human source that gives them information.
Now, I want to get more into that in just a second, but first, we know that as a former FBI special agent yourself, what will the next steps be in terms of law enforcement looking at for this investigation, and now that they have a suspect?
Well, since it's the FBI and this is not a case of somebody just did something and we're rushing over to catch them, or they just admitted to a crime, and so now we have to start collecting evidence. And because this has been so long, I would assume that the evidence led them to this individual, along with source information. And so what's probably happened is that they have a tremendous amount of evidence. So now it's going to be the prosecutors working with the investigators to sum up exactly what they need in order to get a conviction. Because if they have enough information to get or evidence to get a charge, that's where the prosecutors or the people from the DOJ or the attorneys from the DOJ are going to start saying, we need a little bit more of this. Can you look into this, or can you look into that? They start refining it. They proffer the individual if he speaks. And so they try to get as closed of a case as they can get before they have to go to trial.
And I just want to take a look now at the nature of this case. This individual allegedly targeted both political parties, bombs placed outside of the DNC and RNC offices in D.C. Fortunately, they didn't go off, but what appears to be motivating him?
Well, that is going to be a question that investigations are going to have to find. And even if the individual says, I did it for this reason, you still want to go and look at his social media background. You want to look at his computers, the associations that he had prior to this, and what he was doing leading up to this. Like Brian Kohlberger in Idaho, where he killed 4 college students, a lot of his movements actually came into play into getting him to a point where he pled and pled on a deal. So what they're going to start doing now is trying to identify what his motivation and the meaning why he did this, because it could be several things. It could be that he is a leftist and he was targeting both places because he wanted to make the right look bad, or it could be somebody who is anti-government that just went out that day and just said, I'm going to wreak havoc with all government through hatred of government. So it could be either one of those or some mysterious other issue that this individual has. So that is the real questions they're going to have to find. Not just did the person do it, but what was their motivation? Are they associated with other people who may have been motivated to carry this out?
And seeing how, I want to go back to what you said earlier about this case coming out now. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino had said after he was sworn in back in May, he said that the FBI is reopening and pushing more resources to several investigations, this being among them. And we had members of the administration today during a press conference praising President Trump's leadership on prioritizing this case more, among others. Why do you think that they're prioritizing this case? And also, what other things can you expect to come out of this?
Well, so they may have been prioritizing this because first of all, they know it's very important to people to find out who this individual was. To the general public, it's very important. But also, what was the motivation behind the FBI for setting this case to the side? That is actually a very telling thing. If they can't find reason why the FBI stopped the investigation, that could possibly lead them into the FBI internally to see who the people were and if they had any connection, but what their motivation was for stopping this investigation in the first place. So there's also probably personal reasons for Dan Bongino or Kash Patel to get in there and really make a name for themselves with this case, because this is one of those hot button cases that a lot of people were very upset about, because an individual was able to walk in plain view in the most secured, supposedly, city in the world and carry this out and walk off without being caught. And so there's a lot of questions surrounding that I think probably led to them reopening this case and really focusing on it. Also, if this individual has any contacts to leftist groups, to other types of political groups, it's going to be a very case that broadens very quickly.
Mm-hmm. I want to get your thoughts on another topic here running the headlines. Navy Admiral Frank Bradley testifying before the House Intelligence Committee earlier today. He defended the second boat strike on a drug vessel. What's causing the controversy here is the second strike, because there were 2 survivors after that first strike. The meeting was behind closed doors, but I want to play a clip of the head of the committee coming afterwards. Let's take a look.
But what I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have 2 individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who were killed.
So that was Democrat Congressman Himes. Jonathan, your reaction?
Well, he's a politician, so I'm going to take what he has to say with a grain of salt. He doesn't know, because the boat was blown up, exactly what arms they might have had in there, and what the history is with these people. The drug traffickers are typically armed and capable of carrying out harm, and the fact is that as of this point, they're basically enemy combatants that are carrying out a drug war on the United States. So elimination of an enemy is not against the Geneva Convention. It's not against the rules of war. If you're not able to tell whether or not they're still armed, if they're still considered a threat, then you're still capable of eliminating that threat. And I believe that's what happened in this case.
Jonathan Gilliam, thank you so much for your insights, as always.
You got it. Thank you.